Hello, welcome to the dollhouse. I am the doll. Today's video is about Azealia Banks. No one hates Azealia Banks more than Azealia Banks. At least that's what it seems. She is a firecracker for her opinions, and I had actually never heard any of her music until I went and sought out the Anna Wintour song maybe about a year ago. But I'd been hearing her name in the news for her adverse responses, her talking about colorism, her mentions of how Beyonce's accolades are undeserved, mentions about how other stars are subpar to her and, biting her style. She even accused RuPaul of biting her style, and she may even make some headway with that. But yeah, nobody hates her more than her, though. So much so that she's made other people dislike her. Like, she's got access to the room and then gets kicked out. And that's what happened a few years ago with, I believe, Russell Crowe. She was working with Wu-Tang Clan member RZA on music. They went to a party at a hotel that Russell Crowe was hosting, and he ended up having to kick her out. She said that he spit on her and choked her and, many other things. RZA said that he spit on her, but that she needed to be removed. He understood fully why she was removed. And if you watch her antics on Twitter, you can see the vitriol bubbles up inside of her that might cause someone to react. I don't know what happened that night, and I wasn't there, but I've seen a lot of her antics. Well, recently, she's been in the Twitter news again because she was replying to a new artist antagonizing her. Her name is Doechii. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. I may not be, because I hadn't actually heard of her until Azealia Banks popped up in the news with this little negative nugget. She likes to provide those negative nuggets. But this artist, Doechii, she has a new single out with JT, which I checked out. JT from the City Girls, and I thought it was cute. Both of these women are dark-skinned. All of the women in this particular video that I'm talking about, JT, Doechii, Azealia Banks, they're all chocolate goddesses, okay? So anyway, Doechii asks her followers what they want to be called. Beyonce's got the beehive. Mariah Carey's got the lambs. Everyone gives their fans a name. Tamar's got the Tamartians. Everyone gives their fans names now. And so she's asking her fans what they want to be called. And Azealia Banks replied, definitely should call them the wannabes. She replies to Doechii saying that she should call her fans the wannabes because Doechii, is a rapper, and Azealia Banks accused her of biting her style. Now, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Azealia Banks, obviously, but not because of her attitude, but because her music just did not really hit me in the heart area. I listened to Doechii's song with JT, and actually, I did like it. I don't know if she was indeed biting Azealia Banks' style, but really, I mean, so what? So what? It provoked her to respond. Okay, so she said, definitely should call them the wannabes. So Doechii replied, and she said, the first time you came for me, I let it slide out of respect for my elders. It's not my fault you're selling bussy soap and I'm selling platinum records. Leave me alone, please. So I guess there's a history of Azealia Banks attacking this young artist. And she snapped back. Like, sometimes you just got to clap back and let people know that you will get with them, you know? So Azealia Banks even replied to this. And this is where the colorism starts up with her, because she never ceases to amaze the world with ways that she can slide colorism in. And she says this: you mean TDE paid the streaming farm to make a single no one even knew existed go platinum, to try and over-exaggerate a semblance of importance or being vital to the music industry. They clearly have not spent a dime of that money on you. You smoke menthol and have yellow teeth. So that's the first bit of vitriol. Actually, no, this is now probably the third or fourth bit of vitriol directed toward Doechii. Then she continues and says this: furthermore, how ironic of you to mention Bussy Boy in such a homophobic manner. Meanwhile, your bozo ass label mates are essing D with gold fronts on. You must know that you are also too dark-skinned and ugly for anyone to believe that you are a victim here. She comments under that and says, you are the antagonist by default. So there's a lot to unpack with that. Throwing around insults or throwing around accusations of homophobia, of colorism, those can be, if proven to be true, or even if it comes from the right person, it can really damage a reputation. And all of that is subjective, really. But she says things like this about Doechii, and it reveals that she has an internalized viewpoint of being dark-skinned, that is the antagonist, the bad energy in the exchange. It is a negative to have dark skin. This is how she feels. And Azealia Banks is dark skinned. So, I mean, if a light-skinned person were to say this, they would probably be in jail. Like, the news would be front page news on the Daily Mail. You know, they would be on the Breakfast Club for sure. But of course it's Azealia Banks, and it barely made any waves. You know, it barely made any waves. So this is what self-hate looks like. You know, a lot of people might say, oh, well, you know, you get a boob job or you get your nose done, you must hate yourself. That's less about self-hate than maximizing privilege. This is what self-hate looks like when you get mad or you get drunk. She might have been drunk or on some drugs, you know, sitting on Twitter, motivated by vodka, saying things randomly. When people are upset or when they are their inhibitions are down, they really say the things that they feel. And she feels like dark skin is a strike against Doechii. So she definitely feels like it's a strike against herself. And that's why she cried when she was on Wild and Out, and a comedian called her ugly. Azealia Banks was on the show Wild and Out, and she cried after DC Young Fly called her ugly. And she stopped the comedy to say that him saying that was very anti-Black. Now, it really hit her because she obviously feels ugly, right? And she associates her ugliness with her skin tone more than her overbite, more than her asymmetry, more than... She associates it mostly with skin tone. I don't think that if she was lighter, she would look better. And let me pause and say this. I think she's very pretty. And her dark skin is most certainly not not even one of her unattractive features. Honey, I have unattractive features too. Okay, I have them, quote unquote unattractive features. I mean, I've accepted myself, but I've got a big old forehead. So, I mean, there it is, you know. And my nose is big on my face, and it's not because it's a black nose, but it's definitely, I think it's disproportionate to my face. It doesn't make me ugly. However, you know, there are just certain things that make some people's faces beautiful, and those are privileges that, you know, they should embrace. And she actually has a very pretty face. Her skin tone is not one of the things that diminish her looks, but she feels that way. And really, in this video, I'm not trying to throw shade on her for feeling that self-hate, but really to shed light. Not throw shade, but to shed light on her feelings. And let that light just kind of clear it out. You know, I've had some feelings of inferiority related to my facial features because I do have more broad features than Keen. My brother has keen features. I have very, I've got pretty long hair, always grows really fast, and lighter skin. I would say about Rihanna's skin tone and 3C hair. I've had my feelings of inferiority too, because I do have that connection to the enslaved people. And there's been a lot of years where we did not embrace our beauty. Like, thinking of ourselves as beautiful may have just been reserved for a small percentage of the population because the women didn't have time for that. Imagine being an enslaved woman without electricity or running water or indoor plumbing. You know how much those things add to beauty? A lot. So not only were they the lowest in the caste system of America during the times of slavery, the enslaved women, didn't have a chance to really appreciate and cultivate their beauty. They really just did not. And it did not start happening until, around 100 years ago. Madam C.J. Walker was one of the first, and she was a pioneer, and that was maybe 100 years ago. The women in this country who are descendants of the American enslaved had lost touch with their ability to govern themselves in a feminine way. They'd lost touch with that for hundreds of years. And then when they finally gave themselves permission, they didn't really have a lot of resources or know-how. They didn't have the cultures that supported the kinkier textured hair like Africa would have. They had the American culture where the refined beauty and the royalty and the upper echelons, those people had straight hair. Whereas in other areas of the world, there were some kinkier textured leadership, so in members of society who were deemed to be beautiful. But that did not exist here. And women have had to catch up. And there's a lot of residual energy that has to be cleared out. And I understand those feelings because, again, I have a dark skinned mother and I have broad features. Now, I do have privilege. Listen, I do. But I understand the feeling of comparison and feeling connected to a beauty that had not been celebrated and is really just gaining a comfort level with itself. I understand that feeling. And with Azealia, she is a walking reminder that everybody hasn't arrived there yet. So we in the exotical community and we in the feminine beauty space, the daughters of the American enslaved who understand the beauty associated with the cotton texture of Afro hair and the depth and richness of skin tones, blue black, or deep brown with yellow undertones, bronze undertones. Just, we have to continue to lead the way because jealousy is natural. We know that. So we have to be careful because it's easy to take on this na boo boo attitude that, well, I embrace my privilege and it's too bad if you don't feel like you have any. Yeah, and that may be true. However, there still has to be a little bit of understanding because beauty can be snatched. It can be snatched with one bad decision. Your beauty can be snatched from you. And no amount of 2A hair and light skin can regain the privilege that you may have once had. Now, so for someone who doesn't feel beautiful and doesn't know how to enhance that beauty, it's good to just have a moment and understand them and not have pity, but have that empathy that helps them to maybe relax a bit and be at ease. And it allows you to be that shining light. I'm not saying that you should risk anything or associate with people who don't have a high value or a high sense of self-worth or a high understanding of the internal locus of control. I'm not saying that because I strongly believe that you should avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. If you run across someone like Azealia Banks, you see these attributes in someone who could be potentially a new friend or a coworker or a boss, even worse. Act accordingly. Keep that person on the periphery. You have to kind of paint the picture that they want to see so that way they don't infect you. But just understand why. That internalized feeling of inferiority has some roots, baby. These roots are strong and hard, and they are resistant to removal. But they're coming up and they're getting weeded out. Your skin tone is not what makes you ugly. The African source of your DNA and phenotype is not what makes you ugly. You just might be ugly, sis. And that's okay too. It's because beauty ain't everything. And like I said, it is fragile. It can be snatched from you in an instant. So, we should have some empathy. I really do hope this makes sense. I don't want this to go on too long. but y'all get it. This dark on dark crime, it's evidence of a mental disease. And the disease is curable, but the antidote to it is expensive. It takes time and effort. It takes realization. Like the cold glass of water to the face for people who are realizing that it's not because I'm dark skinned. It's not because I have African features. It's just because I'm actually ugly. I actually just need to figure some things out. So I hope that this resonates with someone. We've got to have some empathy for the sisters who haven't made it to the beauty, to the beauty wonderland just yet. Have a little empathy, a little love in our hearts. Send them a little love right now and let them know, baby, you are gorgeous by virtue of having a soul that is shining through you. That's all that's required. That beauty, now that doesn't necessarily make you aesthetically beautiful, but there's inherent beauty, and aesthetics can be improved on. Aesthetics can be improved on. Okay, if Kennedy Davenport can transform, if Jasmine Masters, you look these people up, if Jasmine Masters can put on a bang bob wig, synthetic wig, and go from Sal at the gas station to Portia Williams, then you can do it too, my darling. You know, the distance between basic and being one of the dolls is a short one. So anyway, I love y'all. Let's talk soon.